The champagne flute felt cold and delicate in my hand, a stark contrast to the simmering heat of humiliation in my chest. Around me, the cavernous, art-filled living room of the Vandermeer estate buzzed with the privileged chatter of old money and new connections. This was the night I was supposed to meet my future in-laws. Instead, I was holding a tray of discarded canapés. "Oh, excuse me," a woman in a severely tailored taupe suit said, not looking at me as she placed her empty glass on my tray. "The crab puffs are a bit bland, dear. You might mention it to the kitchen." I didn't correct her. I just nodded, the same tight, polite smile I'd been wearing for 2 hours cemented on my face. This was my son Leo's engagement party, thrown by his fiancée Chloe's obscenely wealthy parents, Richard and Gwyneth Vandermeer. Leo, my brilliant, kind-hearted boy who'd fallen in love with a sweet, art history graduate student. Chloe was a gem. Her parents, however, had looked at my simple, linen dress and lack of family pedigree and seen staff. It had started the moment I arrived, alone. My husband, David, a quiet academic, had passed 5 years ago, and the void he left felt especially gaping tonight. Gwyneth, a woman whose smile never reached her calculating blue eyes, had taken one look at me, my hands slightly calloused from weekend gardening, and assumed I was the hired help. "The caterers are through there," she'd said, gesturing vaguely towards a swinging door before turning to greet a couple dripping in diamonds. I'd opened my mouth to say, "I'm Leela Sharma, Leo's mother," but she was already gone. Before I could find Leo or Chloe in the crowd, a harried-looking event coordinator had thrust the tray into my hands. "Thank God you're here. They're running behind on past hors d'oeuvres." Start in the sunroom. A part of me, the part that had clawed its way from a modest immigrant upbringing to the quiet, tenured comfort of a literature professorship, was furious. The other part, the mother who didn't want to cause a scene and ruin Leo's night, took the tray. I'd find him soon, clear up the misunderstanding, and we'd have a private laugh about it. But the crowd was thick, and every time I tried to extricate myself, another guest would hand me a napkin or ask for a drink refill. I watched Richard Vandermeer hold court by the fireplace, his laugh a booming, performative thing. He was the CEO of Veridian Dynamics, a mid-tier but ambitious tech logistics firm. I knew this because Leo had told me. He'd also nervously mentioned that Richard was a bit of a corporate climber who valued status above all else. What Leo didn't know, what almost no one knew, was that for the last 3 years, I, Leela Sharma, had been the majority silent partner and board chair of Astor Holdings, the investment conglomerate that had quietly acquired a controlling stake in Veridian Dynamics 18 months ago. After David died, the sizable inheritance he left, combined with my own shrewd investments, a secret passion I kept from my academic circles, had grown into something substantial. Astor was my vehicle, my anonymous empire. I liked the quiet power, the freedom it gave me to support causes I cared about without fanfare. Richard Vandermeer reported to a CEO who ultimately reported to me. "You, more champagne here," I blinked, realizing the command was aimed at me. A man with a red face pointed at his glass. I walked over, the tray heavy. As I reached for a fresh flute from a side table, I saw them. Leo and Chloe, tucked in an alcove, holding hands. Chloe was looking up at him with such adoration, and Leo was gently brushing a tear from her cheek. My heart swelled. This was real. This was why I was here, swallowing my pride. Just then, Gwyneth swooped in on them. I was close enough to hear. "Leo, darling, have you seen your mother? She was supposed to be here an hour ago." Her tone was syrupy with false concern. Leo looked confused. "She texted me she was here." "I haven't been able to find her either." "Well," Gwyneth sighed, casting a dismissive glance around the room, "some people just aren't comfortable in these settings, I suppose. It's a pity." I did hope to get a sense of, well, the other side of the family tree. She gave a light, tinkling laugh that made my blood run cold. "We Vandermeers are very particular about lineage." "But Chloe is just so headstrong." I saw Leo's jaw tighten. He opened his mouth to defend me, but Chloe spoke first, her voice soft but firm. "Mother, Leela is wonderful. She's a professor." She's brilliant. A professor, Gwyneth's eyebrows arched. Of what? Community college. English literature at Stanford, actually, Leo said, his voice now edged with steel. Gwyneth waved a hand, as if Stanford were a minor technicality. Well, academia. Not very lucrative, is it? I do hope you've considered a prenuptial agreement, Leo. Not that you'd have much to protect, but it's standard for us. That was it. The simmer reached a boil. I placed the tray down on a marble-topped console with a definitive asterisk clink. I smoothed my linen dress, drew my shoulders back, the same posture I used when facing a boardroom of skeptical men, and walked the 10 steps to the alcove. There you are, Leo, I said, my voice calm, clear, and carrying. All three of them turned. Mom! Leo's face broke into a relieved smile. He stepped forward and hugged me. Over his shoulder, I saw Gwyneth's expression cycle through confusion, dawning horror, and then a rapid, forced recalibration. Leela, what a surprise, Gwyneth trilled. We've been looking for you everywhere. I didn't see you come in. You did, actually, I said, releasing Leo and giving Chloe a warm, genuine smile and a squeeze of her hand. You directed me to the kitchen. I've been serving your guests crab puffs for the last 2 hours. The color drained from Gwyneth's face. Richard, noticing the shift in his wife's energy, ambled over. What's all this? Ah, you must be Leo's mother. Gwyneth said you were delayed. Not delayed, Richard, I said, meeting his gaze squarely. Just misidentified. It's an easy mistake to make, I suppose, when you judge people by their cover rather than their content. The air crackled. Richard puffed out his chest, the CEO in him coming to the fore to handle this uncomfortable social blunder. Now, see here, Ms. Sharma, this is a simple misunderstanding. My wife has been under a great deal of pressure with this event. We're both very, busy people. I'm sure you understand, given your teaching schedule. He said teaching schedule, the way one might say hobby or leprosy. I do understand being busy, I replied, my tone conversational. Board meetings, fiduciary reviews, acquisition audits, they do eat up the calendar. Richard's eyes narrowed slightly, not understanding the reference but sensing a shift. Indeed. Well, now that you're here, let's get you a proper drink. You must be parched. It was a not-so-subtle dig at my time as makeshift staff. A drink would be lovely, I said. But first, there's something I'd like to clarify, to avoid any future confusion. I let my gaze sweep over Gwyneth's frozen smile and Richard's patronizing stance. You mentioned prenuptial agreements and lineage, Gwyneth. I believe in transparency, so let me offer some clarity on Leo's side of the family tree. Leo was looking at me, puzzled but trusting. Chloe's eyes were wide. My late husband, David, was a philosopher. He left us comfortable. I am a professor because I love literature, not because I need the salary. I paused, letting the condescension in the air thicken. You see, Richard, my primary work isn't at Stanford. It's at Astor Holdings. The name landed in the silence like a physical object. Richard Vandermeer flinched as if struck. His jaw went slack. Astor Holdings? Yes. The investment group that owns 51% of Viridian Dynamics. I took a small sip from a water glass a passing waiter offered, my hand steady. I serve as the board chair. So, while you've been running the day-to-day, I've been approving your quarterly strategies, your expansion budgets, and just last month, your rather generous performance bonus. The transformation was instantaneous and pitiful. Gwyneth's hand flew to her throat. Richard's face went from pale to a mottled purple, then back to a sickly white. His CEO bluster evaporated, replaced by the raw panic of a man who has just insulted his ultimate boss's boss at his own dinner table. That's impossible, he stammered. Check your board composition listing, Richard. L. Sharma, it's not a common surname. And my representatives have been in all your quarterly reviews, though I prefer to observe anonymously. I turned to Gwyneth, whose social veneer had completely shattered. As for lineage, my family tree includes farmers from Punjab and doctors in Toronto. It's rooted in resilience and intellect, not bank statements. I believe that's the lineage my son carries, and it's one your daughter is lucky to join. The surrounding guests had fallen silent, eavesdropping without shame. A ripple of shock and delicious scandal moved through the room. Leo was staring at me, his mouth agape. "Mom, Astor Holdings. The quiet investments you mentioned were that." I gave him a small, apologetic smile. "Surprise, sweetheart. I wanted a life separate from all this." I gestured at the opulent room. Richard finally found his voice, but it was a hollow, servile echo of his former boom. "Ms. Sharma, Chairwoman Sharma, we had no idea. This is a terrible, unforgivable misunderstanding." "Gwyneth, apologize at once." Gwyneth looked like she was chewing on glass. "Leela, I am so terribly, terribly sorry. I don't know what came over me." "Please, you must forgive my oversight." "An oversight is forgetting to order enough flowers, Gwyneth," I said quietly, so only our little group could hear. "Treating your future grandson's grandmother like hired help is a failure of character." I turned to Chloe, whose face was a mask of shock and dawning horror at her parents' behavior. "Chloe, my dear, none of this is a reflection on you. You and Leo have my complete blessing, always." Chloe threw her arms around me, whispering, "I'm so sorry, Leela." So sorry. The rest of the evening unfolded in a surreal tableau. Richard and Gwyneth became my shadows, their obsequiousness so extreme it was embarrassing. They offered me the seat at the head of the table, which I declined. They touted my genius to other guests, fabricating stories of how they'd always known I was remarkable. They were dismantling their own arrogance in front of everyone. And it was a cringe-inducing spectacle. I focused on Leo and Chloe. We retreated to a quiet corner, and I explained everything: the inheritance, the creation of Astor, my desire for a private, meaningful life. Leo laughed, a little incredulous, and hugged me tight. "You're full of secrets, Mom, but thank you for putting up with that for us." "I'd do it again," I said, meaning it. But only once. As the party wound down, Richard cornered me, sweating slightly. "Chairwoman Sharma, about the Q3 review, my expansion proposal. We'll discuss it at the board meeting, Richard," I said, my voice cool and professional. "As we always do." Tonight was a personal matter. Though, I added, letting a hint of steel show, Astor values ethical leadership and respect in all its investments. It's something the board will be looking at very closely across all portfolio companies moving forward. He understood the threat perfectly. His career, his social standing, it was all now subject to my discretion. The power dynamic had not just shifted, it had been inverted and cemented. Walking to my car later, Leo by my side, the cool night air was a balm. "You okay, Mom?" he asked. "I am," I said, and I realized it was true. The humiliation had burned away, replaced by a weary sense of vindication. "Will this be a problem for you and Chloe?" "No," Leo said firmly. "Chloe is mortified by them. She's moving out tomorrow. She said if they can't treat the woman I love most in the world with respect, then they don't get a place in our lives." He squeezed my shoulder. "She's got your backbone, it turns out." I smiled, a real one this time. We reached my car, a sensible sedan, not the luxury vehicle I could easily afford. It felt like home. "So," Leo said, a playful glint in his eye, "do I get to be a Nepo baby now?" I laughed, the sound echoing in the quiet, expensive street. "Not a chance, my love, you build your own tree." "But I'll always be the soil." As I drove away from the glittering Vandermeer estate, I felt a chapter close. The quiet professor with a secret was quiet no more, at least not in that circle. The knowledge was freeing. The power, I realized, wasn't in the title or the wealth. It was in the choice to reveal it. And the grace to know when to walk away from a party where you were never truly a guest, until they learned your name came with a crown they couldn't see. If you enjoyed this story of quiet strength and unexpected turns, where the person you underestimate holds the key to your world, remember that life's most satisfying moments often come from within. For more stories about hidden resilience, the complexity of family, and the power of knowing your own worth, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Share your own stories of being underestimated in the comments below. Sometimes the quietest person in the room is the one writing the rules. Until next time, remember, never judge a book by its cover because you might just be looking at the owner of the library.